Okay, so you just got engaged. Awesome, exciting. Your first instinct is to call everybody you know and ask them to be in your wedding. Time out. We need to think this decision through really thoroughly before we invite those people to be in our wedding. First people we need to think about are the people that we're the closest to in our life. If you have a sister, your fiance has a sister, these are people that are important to include. Look to see who your best friends are. Your best friend today, the best friend you were in school, maybe your best friend for your whole life if you're really lucky. And those are people that you want to include. And when you picture yourself standing there at your ceremony, who's in that picture with you? Who's the most meaningful people to have there with you? Those are the questions you need to ask yourself. You need to decide for yourself how many the right number of bridesmaids are. But really, 3, 4, 5 is really the most that most people want to have at their weddings. When you get too many bridesmaids, the personal intimacy of having those women in your wedding can start to slip away. And who hasn't seen the final scene in 27 Dresses where there's the bride and they pan and pan and pan past all the bridesmaids? And it's funny because there's so many of them and because they're each wearing a different dress. But you know what I'm saying. Do you really want that many people in your wedding? Probably not. Once you've decided who you want to have and how many people you want to have, it's time to talk to your fiancé. Say you've decided to have 4 bridesmaids in your wedding party. It's time to say to your fiancé, hey, let's have 4 groomsmen in the wedding party. And let him pick the people that are important to him. And again, it may be if you have a brother or he has a brother, those are important people to include. And then his best friends in life. If your best friend is a guy or his best friend is a girl, you might want to include those people in your wedding parties as well, because those are the important people in our lives. There's other roles that people can serve in your wedding as well. If he has a few more friends that he's close to, they could be the ushers. Perhaps you have female relatives that would like to attend the guest book. There's a lot of other roles that people can play. And let's not forget the cutest roles, which is the ring bearer and the flower girl. You need to decide if you want to include children in your wedding. And if you do, you need to select those kids carefully. If it's important to you that they actually go down the aisle, then you need to consider their ages. Anyone under the age of 2 is probably not going to walk down the aisle by themselves. However, a couple of the cutest ring bearers we ever saw were 2 little boys in their tiny little tuxes being pulled in a John Deere tractor down the aisle. It was very cute. I mean John Deere wagon. Anyway, the same thing goes with flower girls. Under the age of 2, they're not going to make it down the aisle. Between 2 and 4, they can usually get a little bit more reliable, but you need to look at the personality of the child. If you have an outgoing 3-year-old niece, she's just going to go right down that aisle. You're not going to have a problem. But if your niece hides behind her mom every time you see her, she's probably not going to be in a big hurry to go down the aisle. A really effective way to get the little kids to go down the aisle, have someone in the front row holding a toy they really want. A Build-A-Bear, a G.I. Joe, whatever it is for that particular child. That can really motivate them down the aisle. So once you've chosen the most important people in your life to be part of your wedding, you do need to take a little bit of a practical look at the situation. You need to be sensitive if one of these people lives far away, if it will be expensive for them to travel, maybe they don't have very much money. You just need to be sensitive to their life circumstances. And be realistic about your expenses as far as the dress, the tux, the other things that they'll need to participate in your wedding. And finally, know that this can be an emotional issue, that you might upset someone who's not asked. And just be prepared to handle that. Perhaps you have a friend that you used to be close with and you're not so close anymore and you're not going to ask her. Just be prepared for her to find out about the wedding and to still make her feel included and important to you. So overall, making the decision about who to include in your wedding is really going to have a big impact on how much you enjoy your day and how your wedding's going to go.